wherever you have it inside your project. Mine is in tutorials, lab 8, banking app. Okay. So what are we trying to do today? We have already done the web UIs last week, and today we want to consume those web UIs and display them. So this is what you will do. So we already created those web UIs last week for the banking account. We can get account, delete account, but we used what? Postman. Of course, when you launch your application, you're not gonna tell people to go and use Postman, but you will provide for them an interface where they can add, update, delete, and do all of the functionalities that your server has, okay, through UI. So that's what we will do today. And today we will be only using vanilla JavaScript. We will not use any frameworks. However, in the future, inshallah, the coming labs, we will be using new frameworks such as either Vue, React.js, and so on, okay? So what are we going to do? We will create 3 pages. One page is called home, the other page is called add accounts, and the third page is called add transaction, okay? These 3 pages, we will go to the home page, and the home page will have a link for each of these pages. So when you click on home, it loads the home page. When you click on add account, it loads the add account page. And when you click on add transaction, it loads the add transaction page. Okay, so let's go to terminal, nodemon. And if I click on this, basically this is the page, how it will look like. And there is home, add account, and add transaction. Okay, each one will basically load a specific page. Now there is a very important concept you need to understand here, which is called single page, which means our entire application will be a single page. So everything that you see is being loaded inside index page. Of course, the other pages exist, their HTML exists, but we are not doing href equals to account this, and we're not going to that page. Basically, we're not navigating. What we're doing is we're bringing that page and we're going to inject it inside our page, okay? So that's why when it says here, for example, like it should provide this, that's what it means. All pages should be accessible from index.html page. So when you click on each one, you should be able to see them what? Inside the index. So, and the pages allow getting accounts by type. So when the user, for example, clicks on the drop down and select saving, we give them the saving account. When they click on current, we give them the current account. And when they click on all, we give them all of the accounts, okay? So when the page loads, or when a different account type is selected, who do we call? We call this API. So the API is as /app API /accounts, account type equals to either this or this or this, okay? And let's test this. What do we mean by this? If you started your server using nodemon, it's running on localhost 5000. And if I go to this /API /accounts question mark, this is a query string, equals to saving, what will I see? The saving accounts. If I write current, what will I see? The current accounts, okay? And if I write all, I will see all of my accounts. Now these are JSON. They are for programs talking to another programs. So we want to get this data and render it in a table that humans can understand easily, okay, and read. All right, so if you remember, there is something we wrote here in the previous lab when we were studying web UIs. We said app.use express static path.resolve dir name public. Basically what we said was our static pages are located where? Inside the public. So when we say our static pages are located inside the public, what do we mean by that? Every web server has what type of resources? 2 types, right? Dynamic and static. So dynamic are our web UIs basically. So when the user comes /123, we return back the account that has ID 123. For example, when they say saving, we return back saving account. However, if they go to this location of our page, what are we serving? A static page, a page that exists where? Inside our public folder. And that page is index. Usually the index page is the first page that will be loaded. Now when you go to the index page, this is loaded automatically. Okay? You get the idea? Alright, I mean it's fine, yani you can reply. Alright, so next what we are going to do is learn two special methods. The first method is called fetch. Any HTML page, you can think of it as a document, a single document with a root node. And if you remember traversing trees, there is the whole thing is like a tree and there are children. So the HTML, for example, have two child. What are they? The head and the body. And the head has how many children? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So we will learn how we can find a specific element inside our page and how we can replace its content, okay, to a different content. For example, if I replace this nav like this by h1 and say hello, what happens? Inside on the navigation I will see what? Hello. So this is done manually, right? You could do it programmatically. How? So you can say document dot query document dot query selector. Now query selector is exactly like CSS. So there is a method called query selector that can help you search any element inside this page. For example, you want the navigation? Do you want the UL? Do you want the UL with ID X? Do you want the tag that's called main, the element that's called main with an ID main? Or you want the label that has for account type, the property for that has account type? Or do you want to select the option with a value saving? You could select any element using the query selector. Now, how does the query selector work? The query selector is exactly like CSS. You remember CSS? If I want to select, for example, in CSS, an element called main with an ID main, how would you select it? If you want to select the element, the whole element main, you just write main, right? And what am I selecting? The whole main. With what? With a tag, right? But if I put hashtag main, what am I selecting? Yes, the element that has the ID main. And if you check and I inspect this part of my code, you can see that there is something called main with what? ID main. How can I select the navigation now? If I want to select the navigation, I could do that by doing what? Just nav. And I selected what? The nav. Now this is dynamically selecting some part of the HTML page. You could change the content of this page by doing the following: .inner HTML. So it means I want to change the HTML. So if I say equals and I write h1 in a quotation, by the way, you have to write, if you write h1 and I write /h1 and here I write hello, enter inner text, sorry. Yes, so I changed the text. It's supposed to be inner HTML. That's why it will not translate it to an HTML. So inner HTML equals to hello. It changed the navigation to what? Hello. You get the idea now? I can target any element inside this page, okay, and change its inner HTML. So when you say the main, what are the inner HTML of the main? Everything that's inside here, right? That's the inner HTML. So the whole thing here will be removed And what will be added? The new HTML that you wrote, which was H1. This is what will be written in here, but programmatically. So we are doing it programmatically, okay? So where will this help me? The whole idea of this replacing or targeting some element and modifying it will help me to dynamically change my page without refreshing it. I can target some part of my page, load something inside it, okay, dynamically. And this idea is very powerful because in lab 1, of course, you remember this used to be static. And when we had 5 pages that had a navigation, we were copy pasting the navigation and pasting it everywhere. Now we can avoid this by making what? Only changing the middle part and keeping one single page. And the page will stay directly like this. The page will be this. And all I do is what? Just change this part. I'll put this time add account. I'll remove the add account. I'll put this part transaction. I'll move the transaction. I'll put new thing here without changing the page. So that is the first method you need to understand. The second method I want you to understand is this. There is a method called fetch. So fetch takes a URL and a configuration object. So the URL is basically the endpoint. So you can write something like this. Remember, if I want to get all saving account, what did I write here? /API/account all, right? This is what I wrote. If you write the same thing here inside fetch, it will go call your API, get every data inside that API, and give you back. Now you could do something like this. It will return back. Look here. What does it return back? A promise. And you know how to work with promises, right? We can either do await or we can do .then, isn't it? Of course, we will do await in the future, okay? But at this moment only, let's do .then. And then there will be a response. Now you could do response.json. And this will change what you get back from this URL into what? A JSON object. Now you could then do .then. Whenever you get this JSON object, you can say it will be, of course, we know there will be accounts, and we could .log, console.log. What did I write? Okay, I get it. So I wrote accounts, and it's supposed to be accounts here, okay? And now you can see I find all of my accounts here. I basically got every account that's there. Clear console. I can write the same thing, but instead of all, I can write now saving. And what do I get? All of my saving accounts. If I write current, I get what? My current accounts. Okay, and they are here, 3 and 4. And if I write all, I should get what? 7. And I get 7 accounts. Okay? Once we get these accounts, we want to inject them where? We want to inject them as a table in our page. That's the whole idea. The whole idea is that we call programmatically and we inject it into our page, those accounts, and we will put them inside a table. You get the idea? So we will target the main. The console has something called main. If you see here the elements, there is inside my body, I have a main tag, and first I fetch my accounts. I convert them something that look like HTML text in one string, big string. I take that part and I will do what? .inner HTML equals to this new string, and that's it. And then you will find all my accounts inside a table. Okay. And you can see here inside main, there is one div that's called what? Accounts table. How can I target it? You all know now. You just use CSS. How can you target something that has an ID of table? To access this element, you will use hash table. All right, so now enough. So the whole lab today will evolve on these two methods, the fetch and the document.querySelector.